Hey, what's up, everybody? Happy game day, and welcome to GameQuest, a Volquest.com game day podcast. I am your host, Eric Cain, alongside Grant Ramey. We're going to have VFL quarterback Jared Guarantano is going to join us here in about 10 minutes to get his thoughts on the matchup. And as always, this show is presented by our great friends over at Spivey King and Spivey LLP. If you got a problem, let them find a solution for you. That is TN Trial Lawyers. Obviously, from the top, you can tell it feels like I've just smoked a carton of cigarettes. The voice has left me. Allergies, the crazy East Tennessee weather here at the end of the week. So going to muscle through this. I'm going to make Grant be uncomfortable, and Grant's going to talk the majority of this little hit right here.
That's right.
So I tried to get him to host, and he was like, I can't do it. And I'm like, yes, you can, whatever. So ignore my voice. I know I'm annoying with what I say anyway, but I know I sound even more annoying today, but we'll just get through it all here together. Grant, let's start things off at the top, man. Obviously, the biggest storyline for this game from the Tennessee side is Tennessee's not won down there since 2003. I've said it probably a million times. Everybody's getting tired of hearing it. The storyline for Florida going into this game is Lane Kiffin. Like, I feel like there's nobody talking about more on the Tennessee side, obviously. There's nobody talking about the actual game, man. It's a weird lead-in to, what's always a big rivalry game, Tennessee and Florida.
Do I get to do the ad read? Spivey King Spivey, LLP?
Please do the ad read, yes.
I know a lot of people from the Tri-Cities with felonies. Give those people a call, right? Is that it?
If
you know me and if you've committed a felony and you're listening to this right now, call Spivey King Spivey, LLP. It's very strange because it's November, 22nd, and Tennessee's going to Florida to play football. It just feels weird. It feels weird because of the coaching search that's been going on and the craziness that's around all these coaching searches and this coaching carousel that started in October and is just now speeding up, and it's not going to be slowing down anytime soon. And the whole LSU and Florida and Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin and everybody trying to figure out what's going on and who's interviewing and who's not interviewing and who's in Gainesville and who's not in Gainesville. From the Tennessee perspective, obviously a lot of air was out of the balloon after that Oklahoma game. The playoff stuff is out the window, and you kind of got to refocus on what's left to play for. Nobody wants to look at bowl projections. Nobody wants to think about that. They want to think about the bracket, and feels like in this era, for better, for worse, or right or wrong, it's playoff or bust mentality with fans. And when you didn't take care of business at Oklahoma, that playoff or bust became the bad side of that. So can you refocus? Tennessee could still be a 10-win football team if you could win at Gainesville, which would obviously be huge. If you could beat Vanderbilt and end any playoff hope for Vanderbilt, which is also crazy to be talking about in November, but respect to them for that. And then if you could win a bowl game, that would be a 10-win season. That's nothing to sneeze at. That's a big deal. Even if you didn't make the playoff, and even if it has been, a lot of frustrations along the way with what this Tennessee team is. How good are they? How high the ceiling is? How low the floor is? Trying to figure it out. But you got a big opportunity to go on the road, do something you haven't done in a long, long time, and give Tennessee fans something to be excited about over these next couple weeks.
Yeah, I can't figure Florida out, man. Like, I think that they're going to be amped up and ready to go for this game. Number one, I think just getting out there and playing football again, getting back home. They haven't played a home game in over a month. This will be the first home game with no Billy Napier. And then again, I feel like that fan base is there's been some LSU vibes here at the end of the week, but I feel like this fan base for Florida is just all in unison on we're getting Lane, and nobody can say anything that's gonna tell us any different. So I'm intrigued to see kind of what this environment's like. I'm sure it'll be good, but also like Florida as a team this year, I can't really figure them out. Like, again, I'm not trying to make them out to be some juggernaut, but they are clearly better than their 3-7 record. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, they are 3-7. They played Georgia close, they played Ole Miss close, they beat Texas. The Kentucky loss is just an anomaly for me because the team just quit in the second half, and that's easy to do when your quarterback throws 3 first-half interceptions. But, this team is obviously talented, and this team has played close games. They just can't finish. And my favorite stat of the week that I've always referenced, they scored 27 points in the fourth quarter all year long. They've given up 73 points in the second quarter and 75 points in the fourth quarter. Again, they can't finish halves,
right?
And they can't finish games. So like this Florida team has been kind of all over the map a little bit. It's been hard to kind of figure out. Again, they're playing with anybody. They're obviously talented, but they make mistakes, and Tennessee has got to take advantage of that.
Yeah, they were in a bad spot when Texas went to Gainesville in early October, and the way that game played out, Texas was still pretty highly ranked, and Florida played really well. And won that football game, and Tennessee fans watched it like, know how that feels, going down there and losing to a team that on paper or by rankings or whatever that you should beat. The Florida team that lost to Georgia by 4 in Jacksonville looks like a pretty tough football team. The Florida team in the first half at Ole Miss that led 24-20 and played really well in the first half in Oxford a week ago looks like a pretty good football team. But the 38-7 in Lexington is hard to. I mean, it's hard to fathom. It's inexplicable. Because of what Kentucky looked like, what was that, a week before or something like that when Tennessee won in Lexington and put up 56 or whatever it was on the board. So that's really hard to explain. But this is Tennessee and Florida, and it's tough to go to Gainesville regardless of the time of year for Tennessee for whatever reason to get over that hurdle and to exercise those demons. So something's going to happen where they play really well, they get off to a fast start. Joey's got to eliminate turnovers, kind of all the basic stuff you look for in the checklist to go on the road and win a football game. But to quote Brent Hubbs, right? You got to see it to believe it, but they got an opportunity to make you believe it.
See, Brent always says that, and he's seen it before, so why can't he believe?
That's
right.
right.
I mean, he's
starting in the 50s.
Yeah,
starting in the 50s.
Noah Taylor's Neelam Press Corps clippings. I mean, Brent was there covering half of those games.
Yeah, he quotes Brent because Brent was there.
Yeah, exactly. It's interesting. I think another sidebar to this game, and I say sidebar, it's a big point of it. Like the quarterbacks and DJ Lagway, super talented but turnover prone, leading the SEC with 13 picks. Joey Aguilar's been fantastic, leading the SEC in passing, tied for passing touchdowns, second quarterback rating, but he's also second with 10 interceptions. These two quarterbacks got to protect the football. Joey specifically, obviously from Tennessee's side, 4 first-half interceptions the past 2 games, and 2 of those plays, really similar plays where feeling pressure from the backside, just kind of heaves it over the middle. Not good football. He's got to protect the football, especially on the road, and what's a pretty salty defense.
Yeah, can't be doing that on the road. Got to get back to kind of the Joey from earlier in the season where the interceptions weren't an issue and he was making good decisions and he was just kind of taking what was there and wasn't really risking anything. Not that you want to completely, cut him off of the knees, but at the same time take better care of the football. That's just got to be the Joey that we see that shows up in Gainesville, because the one that played against Oklahoma and the one that played against even New Mexico State, some of those decisions he made when you're on the road, especially in Gainesville, especially in a place where you know how hard it is to win, you know how hard it is for this program to win for whatever reason. You better, play well early on. You better take care of the football. You got to do a lot of stuff to win on the road, but starting at the quarterback, getting back to kind of what he was the first 6 to 8 weeks of the season. Now the production's been there, the numbers have been there. Just got to cut out that one bad decision or those two bad decisions that could, flip a football game pretty quick.
Florida has not defended the run very well of late. Kentucky had over 200 yards rushing. Ole Miss, to nobody's surprise, what a fantastic running back they have, had 237 yards rushing. Like I said this earlier, I think it was on the Volquest podcast, we've seen this movie before. I remember last year, you and I talking about, man, Mississippi State just ran it all over Florida,
right.
Just ran it down the throat. Tennessee's going to have a field day. They were okay, but not so much. If Tennessee wants to win down there on the road, they cannot be so pass happy. They're never one-dimensional, but you've got to get more from the run game. I think there's an opportunity there in this game. Once again, a defense that's kind of reeling in terms of giving up the run for Deshaun Bishop. And if they're patient and they don't get so crazy with the rotation, I think Tennessee can do a good job of running the football. I mean, Deshaun Bishop right now is clearly Tennessee's best running back. It's not even close. He's patient. I mean, you and I looked at each other the other day and was like, man, he's having a really good game. Just his runs, he sees it better than anybody. And you're going to need him to be doing that in the second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. I hope that they're patient with him and give him more run. But more than anything, I think Tennessee needs to really dominate the run game in this football game, because I think there's an opportunity to do just that.
There used to be a famous stat during this Tennessee-Florida rivalry a few years ago. I don't know if we've gone away from it or whatever, but it was whoever ran for more yards on the ground was going to win the football game. And you could go back to the stats for 15 straight years or something like that to find the winner. But yeah, it's not ball control, because I don't think this Tennessee offense is ever going to be ball control, but you want to have that comfort of the run game. And yes, Deshaun, spell him when he needs to be spelled, not just because it's the second series, it's the third series. Don't be so beholden to that rotation that you wanted going into the game, or that you've had for the first, whatever it's been now, 10 games. Ride the hot hand. He's the patient runner. He's the good vision runner. He's tough yards runner. He's a guy that he doesn't have elite speed, but he has some big playability in him. We saw that at Alabama to start the second half down there. So You want the explosives to be there and all that stuff. You want to put up big points, but if you can run the football and control the football a little bit more, it's going to take pressure off of Joey. It's going to, maybe he doesn't force stuff. You're just a better football team when you're a consistently good running football team.
There's a lot of good stories on the Tennessee football team this year. I mean, Joey's arguably the best story in college football.
Mm-hmm.
Jesse Perry's a great story.
Braylon Staley.
Braylon Staley's a good story. I think my favorite story is Deshaun Bishop. And again, it's like, it's almost like parental, and I don't mean that to be weird, but like I've covered him since his freshman year. Like I've seen all his accomplishments in high school, and I know he's just right down the road, but when we had him on Rivalry Thursday all the time, and I was doing stuff for the radio as well, and so it's just really, really cool to see him have this success, and hopefully there's some success there tomorrow against Florida, or today against Florida. You look also at Tennessee in this game. Not going to have Boo Carter. I know that's old news at this point, but real quick, I want to play the clip from Josh Heupel, kind of what he said about it Monday. He kind of ends it with it when asked, should he have been on the injury report? This is what Josh Heupel had to say, kind of closing out the Boo Carter saga at Tennessee.
No, not regretful. At the end of the day, it's our job as coaches to try to help mold these guys, and that's a part of the commitment that you make, in the recruiting process and when they decide to come. And sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't, and at the end of the day, we're moving forward. No, sir. Not based on our trainers.
No, sir. 5-second pause. Not based on our trainers when asked if he should have been on the injury report the last couple of weeks.
The availability report per the SEC. Availability.
Yes, availability report.
Get your semantics right.
Again, this is not and I'm not trying to be rude, but this just doesn't even move the meter for me because he's not been a factor for Tennessee really all year.
Yeah.
He's not been returning punts outside of ETSU, UAB. He's muffed a couple. He had a pretty good stretch playing defense there earlier in the year, but ever since he gave up on that play at Kentucky, I mean, he hadn't played. I mean, it's just he's not been a factor for Tennessee. So for you, Grant, what's your biggest takeaway of this whole thing? I mean, I think it's a sad situation because he's obviously talented. I don't think it affects this team at all. Could it affect this program moving forward because you're losing a good player? Maybe, but what's your take on the whole Boo Carter situation, the finality to it?
I mean, it would be a bigger deal if he was playing really well as a defensive back or as a punt returner. If he was some kind of game-changing person on the field, that just hasn't been the case. Like you were talking about, even when he did get on the field against UAB, it felt like he struggled against an inferior offense to kind of keep up. It felt like he never really found his footing and whatever he was going to be able to do in the secondary this season. The punt returns were a lot of fair catches and a lot of maybe a couple muffs, if I'm not mistaken, or just dropping it and following it. So that's something where you never want to have that kind of nerve and anxiety when you put your punt returner on the field. Is he going to catch it or not? Maybe it's one less distraction, one less thing to think about for this Tennessee team. I don't know how much of a distraction it was through the season, but obviously it was a big deal in July. It was a big deal in camp when we were all sitting there watching him work his way back onto the practice field kind of one day at a time, updating that whole situation. But if you're Josh Heupel, you know what? You gave him a second chance. It didn't work out. That's unfortunate. You're kind of danged if you do, danged if you don't in that situation because you cut ties with him in July. That sucks because he's an in-state kid. He's a highly rated prospect. He's obviously a very talented athlete, very talented football player. But, for whatever reason, it didn't work out. Hopefully it works out down the road. Hopefully a change of scenery is what both sides needed. And for these final 2 weeks, maybe it's just one less thing to think about, in that locker room with this football team.
See, I had to audible because, too many cigarettes, obviously. I couldn't think of what I wanted to talk about next. I had to audible to Boo there because I lost my train of thought. Back to the run game, and then we'll get to Jared here. There's a couple more injury reports. You guys know this. By the time we record this, there's a couple more availability reports that come out later in the week. We'll see where Wendell Moy is, okay? But Wendell Moy, obviously questionable, okay? He's not 100%. Miles Kitselman's out, and we knew that. I mean, that anybody with two eyes can see what that injury was. Do you think that negates Tennessee's ability to successfully run the football, knowing that it hasn't really consistently ran it the way you want to all year long, and you're losing Miles Kitselman that is very much involved in that, and then, of course, one of your best offensive linemen and one of your most versatile offensive linemen, Wendell Moy. The caveat to that is, okay, Jesse Perry's not 100%, but he's going to be playing. Shane Umarov is pretty much a sixth starter right now. He's played a ton. but Wendell Moy would be a big loss if he does not play in this game.
I would have more questions if they had just consistency and continuity on the offensive line, but they've really had to kind of shuffle and answer questions since day one. Since David Sanders walked onto the field in Atlanta for that Syracuse game in street clothes, and they had to move a bunch of guys around. And what's funny is you felt like you had more answers with that first 5 they started the season with and played however many the first month of the season with. And then David Sanders comes back and you shuffle some more, and it almost creates more questions than you had to start with. So maybe when the shuffling returns, that I don't know if the offensive line has been that great the last 2-3 weeks in terms of pressures and giving up sacks and stuff like that. So I don't know. I would like I said, I would be much more cautious, or it would be much more anxious if they hadn't had to spend a lot of the season trying to figure out stuff on the offensive line and shuffle and move guys around. It's just kind of been the thing since day one.
All right, what does Jared Guarantano, VFL quarterback and Volquest contributor, have to think about going into this game? What's it like playing down in the swamp? He's got some experience in that regard. And what's his prediction for this Tennessee-Florida football game? We'll talk to Jared coming up here in just a moment. We'll come back later in the podcast with Grant and I. We'll give our keys of the game, our predictions, and all that and more as we continue on here. It's Tennessee and Florida on GameQuest, volquest.com. GameQuest is presented by the great people over at Spivey, Cain, and Spivey, LLP. If you got a problem, let them find a solution for you. That is TN Trial Lawyers. They specialize in criminal defense, family law, personal injury, examples of which can be DUI, assault, divorce, custody, alimony, parental rights, accidents such as car wrecks or anything like that. Over 80 years of combined experience. Spivey, Cain, and Spivey, LLP has representation throughout state and federal courts of Northeast Tennessee. The firm has the vast amount of trial experience. This practice has been in place with these specific partners since 2012, but the practice overall for 43 years. They have partners who are energized and ready for today's modern legal demands. They practice primarily in Northeast Tennessee, the Tri-Cities of Sullivan County, as well as Hawkins County, Washington County, and surrounding counties and areas. The firm has won multiple awards and have attorneys who have been rated by super lawyers with real Mid-South trial experience. Whether you've been injured in a car accident, need help with a divorce, help with custody of your children, or you've been accused of a crime, Spivey, Cain, and Spivey, LLP, they can help you. Pick up the phone today if you have a need. A free consultation. What's it going to hurt? 423-245-4185. That is 423-245-4185. You can check them out online as well at Spivey, Cain, and Spivey, LLP.com. Spivey, Cain, and Spivey. If you got a problem, let them find a solution for you. That is TN Trial Lawyers. I want to give a shout out to Whataburger as well. Whataburger serves breakfast. You can start your morning with breakfast you deserve from Whataburger. They got plenty of options to choose from. You can get a sweet, crispy honey butter chicken biscuit or a breakfast bowl with savory sausage, bacon, maybe a big tasty breakfast burger with extra bacon, maybe some avocado as well. Whatever you want, just like you want it. Whataburger serves breakfast from 11 p.m. to 11 a.m. Jarrett, appreciate you coming on again as always, man. And let's talk Tennessee and Florida. First, I want to get your thoughts on, you played a couple of different games down there in the swamp. What makes that place so challenging? I would assume, I don't want to speak for you, but probably one of the cooler, neater, SEC venues you go to that kind of screams college football. But with that comes challenges. And so what are some challenges that even in a down year for them and coaching search and all that this Tennessee team is probably going to face down there?
I always viewed their stadium, the Swamp, just like a cathedral, right? Growing up, it was probably one of the biggest atmospheres, one of the best atmospheres in all of college football. When I was younger, I mean, I loved Tim Tebow. I loved those teams. I loved Urban Meyer back then. They were just cream of the crop, right? And everybody that knew Florida football, they knew what they were producing. So growing up, you always thought of the Swamp as one of the best places. And obviously I got the chance to play in it, and it was amazing, right? The fans were electric. Just being in a place with so much history was difficult as an away team because you want to marvel at those things, but also at the same point, the crowd was loud. You felt the floor shaking a little bit. And for anybody that dreams of playing college football and being at that high of a level, it was amazing to be in that presence.
How long does it take you to kind of like you don't play in that way, you snap out of it before? What was your process when you went to away venues like this? Did you get off the bus, kind of walk around the field, or was it during pregame warm-ups? You just kind of took it in? What was kind of your process to enjoy the moment and then move on? Okay, I got a job to do.
Yeah, I always liked putting my bags down as soon as I got to the stadium. And the next thing I would do was just stroll around, right? And just seeing the different things and seeing the different schools and what they had and their statues and all those type of things, and just being able to go inside the stadium. And of course you want to find the play clocks. That's the most important thing, but you want to just look around and just see all the beautiful things. And luckily I was able to visit a couple of the places that I was able to play in, but I wasn't there all year, or maybe even a couple of years earlier. So it was always super cool for me going into the stadiums and just seeing those things. But I mean, obviously after that 10-15 minutes of absolutely like taking it all in, you got to snap into it and you got to get into your game plan. You got to get focused up, and there's no more daydreaming about just being a little kid again and being grateful for the opportunity. It's like, it's time to snap into it and get the plays in and get ready to play.
No doubt. Dealing with crowd noise, how did you and your centers, or you and your offensive line, kind of go about deciding, all right, we're going to go on silent, we're going to go on tap? You know, it's probably too loud to hear clap. When you're away from Neyland, how do you go about like finding your process early in the football game? And does it sometimes take like after the first series, second series to kind of figure that out?
Yeah, the SEC is such a special conference because whenever you go on the road, most of the time you have to go on silent cadence and or clap, right? So whenever you're preparing, luckily able to already prepare for our Mississippi State game where we had the cowbells and a really loud scene. Going into this one, it'll be the same thing. So all week we'll sit there and we'll have the speakers blasting. We'll have everything going on with the crowd noise that we possibly can simulate at practice. And we'll be most likely going on a silence cadence, which either it could be a guard tap, it could be center looking underneath his legs, trying to get ready for the snap, and then him saying the cadence. So there'll be different plans in place. Obviously, you have to have certain things because it'll be easy for the defensive line to jump on the snap if they know the cadence. So maybe if the guard taps twice or the center looks twice, certain things like that have to be aware of just because of playing in the SEC. You're going to have games like this, right? I know Florida's having a down year, but if the Florida fans are out there and the student section's out there, it's going to be super loud still. And we got to be ready for anything that can come, right? You'd rather be ready for that element of being super loud and it absolutely being quiet than the opposite way around, just thinking it's going to be quiet and then it's loud.
You put in games like this where typically really good teams are having a down year, okay? But like you look at, you watch them play on TV, you see they beat Texas. They, had fourth quarter leads against, Ole Miss and had a chance to beat Georgia. But then again, you look at the record, it's 3-7. So how do you kind of balance that? Like, okay, they're clearly a talented football team. They're much better than the record indicates, but at the end of the day, they are a 3-7 football team. How do you kind of approach a team like this as a player in that other locker room?
Yeah, they remind me much of my freshman year. We lost a lot of very close football games, one possession games. We were in a lot of them. And I feel like Florida is doing that same exact thing, right? You look at their past couple of games, you look at the games that they've won or lost. Most of them, they've been one possession, if not 10-point games, right? They were beating Ole Miss going into the fourth quarter. Mm-hmm. They were super close with Georgia. I thought they should have won the Georgia football game. Kentucky was a little bit of an oddball because I just don't think nobody on the team played well that day. But going into this game, a rivalry game, these last two for Florida versus Tennessee, Florida versus Florida State, they're going to have their best shot ready to go. So I'm not expecting them to lay down. I expect their best punch going into this game, and we're going to have to be ready for it, right? I do know that Florida has a lot of guys out, right? There was a lot of guys listed on the injury report. They're also returning one of their best players on their football team that's been out, I think, majority of the whole year at defensive tackle. So that'll be another challenge. But teams like this, their record doesn't accurately depict the level of players that they have on their team, right? They have a lot of really talented football players. And if they put it together for a whole 60 minutes, they're really a tough team to beat, which we've seen in the past couple of weeks with them going against Ole Miss and Georgia, who will be college football playoff teams.
Yeah, the guy you're referencing, Caleb Banks, he didn't even appear on the injury report earlier in the week. So, yeah, he's a first-round top talent for the Florida Gators. Another question, kind of a different topic question. You went through a coaching change like towards the end of the season during one of your years. I guess it was your redshirt freshman year. When you had an interim, Florida's obviously had an interim the last month or whatever. And for the team, how do you navigate those waters, right? Like, I know the staff is staying and you're not making wholesale changes or anything, but at the end of the day, you do kind of have a new voice that's leading your team. What was that process like for you in your experience? And similarly, that's what Florida's going through right now.
Right. I'd say the level of intent that players have is just a little different, right? Of course, every single player wants to go on the field and put on good tape and go win the football game. It's just a little different the way that they think, right? They're thinking about next year. They're thinking about their future. It's hard not to think forward. And I bet you that's all the Florida coaches are talking about. Like, let's just be in the moment. Let's play this game. Let's worry about today. But it's so hard, right? You committed to a coach, you committed to a university now that is going to be completely different than it is next year with a new head coach, a new staff, just everybody in the building new, most likely outside of maybe the trainers. So it's tough as a football player, right? Of course, they want to go out and put their best tape because they do know, especially now, the transfer portal is a huge thing, and they know obviously going into the draft and stuff like that if they're upperclassmen. So it's a little bit difficult to navigate it, but at the end of the day, it's still football, and when you're out there competing, you still want to go out there and win every single game that you play in.
Look at DJ Lagway from a quarterback's perspective. Kind of what's been going wrong with him this year. I mean, he's ultra talented, but obviously leading the league with 13 interceptions.
Yeah, he's having somewhat of a down year. I look at him as a super talented player. Obviously, he had a lot of notoriety and he had a lot of media stuff going on at the beginning of the season, going into the season. A lot of people thought that he could possibly be one of the best quarterbacks in the country. Unfortunately, he hasn't really lived up to that. There's been numerous amount of times that he's kind of put the ball into danger, unfortunately. But when he's at his best, he's a really good football player, right? And we as a defense, as Tennessee, we have to just create those situations and those opportunities for ourselves to make him uncomfortable and try to force a pass or do things out of the realm. He's a player that obviously he wants to put the game on his shoulders. And when he does, sometimes it's great. And other times when it's not, he's going to turn that football over. So for him, for his instance, I'd be sitting in there just saying like, hey, let's just have a good play. Let's have positive play after positive play. Let's do the easy things. Let's take completions. If there's not anything deep, tuck it, run with it, scramble, get some yards. It looks like a lot of the stuff that he's doing on tape is forced right now. And that's unfortunate because I do think he's a really good football player. And I do think that they have a good running back and a really good wide receiver room at Florida right now with them.
Let's talk about Joey. You and I talk about his first half interceptions against Oklahoma, and you kind of broke those down a little bit. He threw 2 more against New Mexico State in the first half, and turnovers are part of the game. They're kind of starting to rack up for him a little bit, and specifically, it's been 4 in the first halves of the last 2 ball games combined. Kind of what are you seeing from Joey here lately? Still going out there and producing and putting up yards, no doubt, but the turnovers have kind of ticked up a little bit here at the end of the year.
Yeah, I'd say as an opposing defense, I'm looking at Joey, and when he's affected by a pass rush, I think that's when his decision making, or that's when the turnovers come, right? I don't think that the flat route that he threw last week was a bad decision. I just think the pressure got to him and he just didn't finish the throw as well. And I mean, the opposite, the next one, the pressure got to him. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to finish his throw and step into it. That's one per se that they were able to get a turnover on. So some of them, I'd say that pressure is getting to him a little bit, and unfortunately, it's affecting his throw, which as a quarterback, that happens a bunch. But if he could absolutely limit the turnovers in the next 2 games, I think that it will help the team continue down their path of getting to 9-3, of just like any other quarterback in the country, right? The turnover margin is a huge thing. And unfortunately, last week versus Oklahoma, he hasn't been as well as he's been all year at it. But it's not, I don't think it's a level of concern. I think he's still been playing pretty good football. He's been creating long drives, hitting explosive plays. So we'll see, right? I mean, the past couple of games, he's had some turnovers. Lagway's had a bunch of turnovers this year. If we can win the turnover margin as a team on Saturday, I think that puts us in a prime position to win that football game.
It's incredible the year that he still had, right? Leading the SEC in passing, tied for passing touchdowns, 2nd quarterback rating. He's been phenomenal.
Awesome.
Braylon Staley and Chris Brazzell have an opportunity. Bowl games count for Staley. I would imagine he's going to play in that bowl game. But, I mean, Tennessee could potentially have 2 1,000-yard receivers this year. That's never happened before.
Yeah.
So many questions and just unknowns, right? Because you didn't know about Braylon Staley. Chris Brazzell was not this last year. You had no clue about Joey Aguilar. Mike Matthews was very unproven. You replaced 4 starters on the offensive line. And, sure, Tennessee should have done some things differently last year in the portal, I think. But the focus was roster retention. And you're seeing it. These guys are ballers. How cool would it be to have 2 1,000-yard receivers? Again, it's never happened before.
No, it's absolutely monumental. And this goes out to the staff, right? When you're looking as a recruit and when you're going through the process, the amount that this staff has developed in these players, the amount of skill level, the amount of talent that they have developed into what they could really truly become is remarkable, right? You look at Staley, nobody really knew what Staley was going to be this year. Obviously, the staff knew because they had certain things that they felt roster wise that they wanted to do, and they allowed him to become the starter, the slot receiver in this offense because they trusted and believed in his development and they knew what they had. Same with Matthews, right? Another younger player that they knew that they had a really good football player, and they put him on that pedestal week one. He made a lot of big plays this year. I'm surprised. I mean, he could have a huge game, and then we're sitting there like, oh my goodness, we have three receivers that could go for 1,000. So the way that the staff has performed with developing this talent has been remarkable. And then when you look at Staley, when you look at Brazel, these guys have had amazing years, right? You just said record-setting years. I hope that they're able to accomplish this going with 3 games. I don't know if Brazel will play like you said.
Yeah.
I hope he does because I would love to see this achievement be placed in the history of Tennessee. But just it's crazy how much success this offense has had with the stipulations and things that you talked about previously, with a quarterback that got in May, these guys that we didn't know were going to play on the offensive line. We didn't know how a true freshman would be able to handle some of the certain things that he's faced. Obviously, he's had some ups and downs. He's had some injuries, but when he steps up to the plate, he's there competing. He's doing a great job. So there was a lot of unknowns going into this season, and I think the staff and the team has done a phenomenal job kind of orchestrating success into that.
We saw Chris Brazel walking through the, where we do media. When you play, we did media downstairs. We do it upstairs, right outside the practice facility there in they call it the North Studio. So like, we all the time players are like leaving, just going back to the dorms or going to their cars or whatever. And so we saw Brazel earlier this week, and I think it was AP or Brent. Somebody was like, "How many yards into 1,000?" He's like, "What?" You're like, "How many yards into 1,000?" He said, 127. like you pay attention to that. It's important. I mean, that's a goal for everybody, obviously. Just like, a goal for you, I'm sure, was to, get 20 touchdown passes or whatever. Like, I mean, that's a goal, and that's really cool to see him really, really close, and hopefully he can get it this week, if not against Vanderbilt for sure. What do you see as keys to victory for Tennessee? How can Tennessee take advantage of this 3-7 football team, jump out to a good start, and ultimately, win the first ball game down there since 2003?
I'd say that number one would be win the turnover margin. We talked about that previously. They have a quarterback that's turned the ball over a lot, and unfortunately, we've had some turnovers in previous games. But I think if we can win that turnover margin and be good in the kicking game, that'll give us a huge positive. 2, I'd say silence the noise. So I think coming out to a good start would be really beneficial for us. Their crowd, you want to get them out of the game early. I mean, they've been unfortunately losing a lot of football games. So if we get out to a 14-0 start or 14-3 start, 17-3 start, the crowd will silence and the crowd will most likely get out of interest of the football game. And then I think 3, you can't allow them to get a lead. I think in previous weeks they've had big leads or just leads in general versus Ole Miss, versus Georgia. They've come out to really good games and they've allowed them to stay in the game. If we allow them to stay in the game, it's going to be a real 60-minute ball game. And for us, from that standpoint, we haven't been really good at closing out football games, nor have they. It'll just be about who wins the fourth quarter.
Yeah, again, I've already mentioned it on the show. I don't think I've mentioned it to you, so that's the reason I can do that. Florida, hold on, where'd it go? Sorry. Okay, yeah, you mentioned Florida just can't close games. Florida has been outscored 75-27 in the fourth quarter this year. I mean, it's hard to believe. 10 games, 27 fourth quarter points. That's wild to me.
And they've started well too, right? These key games, right? These key games they've started well. That's why I think if we are able to start better and that we're able to get a lead on them, that'll kind of silence their noise. Just because I don't think they finish well. But if they do start well, I mean, we just have to focus on that third and fourth quarter adjustments because they don't do a very good job at the tail end. And that could be depth, right? That could be a new coaching staff without a head coach. That can be a multitude of things, but that is something that we have to thrive in for sure.
71 first quarter points for the Gators, 73 in the second quarter, 37 in the third quarter, 27 in the fourth quarter. So, I mean, it is, whew. So take advantage of that. Take advantage of that for sure if you're Tennessee. Jarrett, as always, man, thanks so much. We'll come back next week and we will talk, hopefully, a Tennessee win over Florida and, man, how Tennessee's going to try to spoil Vanderbilt's college football playoff berth. It's amazing that we're having that conversation, but life in the SEC, right? Thanks so much, man, and look forward to doing it next week.
Good man, brother.
Good stuff as always there from VFL quarterback Jared Guarantano. Go check out his YouTube channel as he continues to grow and kind of get into this media space post-playing career. He's done a fantastic job with us, so big thanks to Jared Guarantano. All right, Grant Ramey, Tennessee and Florida. Let's give our keys to the game and let's give our picks before we say goodbye. What are your keys to a Tennessee football win?
You know what? I was on with the Gators Online folks earlier this week, and a stat that was pointed out to me. Obviously, Tennessee struggles on third down defensively. I don't know where they rank or what the numbers are, but it's been really hard to watch for most of the season. And they mentioned that that's funny because Florida has one of the worst third down offenses in college football this season. So that's the old immovable object, and what's the other thing? The unstoppable force or something like that. So who's better on third down, Florida's offense or Tennessee's defense? I think that's going to be a big deal. I think that's a key factor in the game. We talked about turnovers, Joey making better decisions or better throws, or just taking what's there. You're not going to be able to hand the football to Florida and expect good things to happen on the road, in prime time, sell out, Urban Meyer weekend, all the stuff that you don't want to think about that's going to be going on Saturday night in the Swamp. So take care of the football. Get off the field on third down. It's simple. It's not anything earth shattering. See what you can do. Obviously a fast start is always key. I've said it 47,000 times this season, but on the road it's a different story where you're trying to take the air out of the building and not fan the flame. So fast start, take care of the football, get off the field on third down.
Yeah, they're giving up third down conversions at 41% clip. Tennessee is converting on third downs at 47% on the season, so something to pay attention to there. I got 4 keys, and one is kind of really for this week, and I think they've done a good job in meeting with the players earlier in the week and all that. Just block out the streak, right? I mean, they're going to hear it. We ask all of them about it. They've acknowledged it. They know it's real. But I'll continue to reference Jeremiah Telander. He's like, I know about it, but all I know from my standpoint is we lost when I was a freshman down there.
Right.
And for some of these veterans, like they've beaten Florida twice. It's been in Knoxville, but like they don't know like that we know like the 15-game losing skid or not 15-year, whatever it was. That was Bama. But there was how long was it for Tennessee,
11,
Florida?
I think 11, something
11,
like that.
Yeah, that's right. They don't know that. They just know like, hey, we beaten Florida twice here. Right. Hadn't one down there. Let's go get it. So block all that stuff out. Don't worry about that because, again, Hypo even said it on Monday, like 1 year doesn't dictate to the next year. This is more for the fans. This is more for us. It's a big deal, but, kind of block all that out. Number 2, get off to a good start. You can come back and chip away throughout the game because, again, I referenced they're a horrible fourth quarter football team. Mm-hmm. Defensively, they're a horrible second quarter football team. So you can certainly chip away and come back, but don't give that crowd an opportunity to suffocate you because we've all watched games. You and I have covered games down there where they just suffocate you and nothing can go right. The replacements, quicksand, like one thing and then another, right? Like we've all seen that. So don't allow for that to happen, okay? Get off to a good start. Take the air out of that stadium just a little bit and run the football. Or to do that, run the football consistently. We talked about that earlier. They gave up 237 yards to Ole Miss last week. Gave up over 200 yards to Kentucky 2 weeks ago. Opportunity there to run the football if you're Tennessee. And I think to sustain and do what you want to do in this football game, I think you're going to need to consistently run that football.
Yeah, I think context matters with the streak. There were a lot of really bad Tennessee football teams and a lot of really good Florida football teams during that run. There were also years where Tennessee was poised to win a football game and just didn't finish. I mean, 2015, Tennessee's up 27-14 with, 6 minutes left, and they couldn't find a way to close and win that football game. 2017, I think it was, Tennessee played pretty well in the fourth quarter and tied the game late, came back from maybe down 10 late in that game to tie it, and it looked like you're going to force overtime, and then obviously the Hail Mary happens there on the final play. So you're in position to win football games in Gainesville. You just didn't close the game and win, go out and win the football game. So I think some context matters when you talk about the streak. And yeah, obviously these players, how many of them were born in 2003 or later? How many coaches have turned over, been through both programs during that time? It doesn't matter. The players involved, the coaches involved, they all have short memories or haven't been around long enough to even know what it is. You just got to go down there and win a football game.
Last key for me is go out there and make it hard on DJ Lagway. Surprisingly, like his numbers are worse when he's kept clean, like the pocket's clean. He's thrown 10 picks when he's not been under pressure this year.
Well, Tennessee, how many sacks on Ty Redmond? Not Ty Redmond. Ty Simpson, not many, if all.
One.
None, I don't think. One.
Yeah, one.
What did they do against Oklahoma? It felt like there wasn't much pressure there. Am I mistaken?
I think they had a couple more against Oklahoma, but only
I
one
just
against
don't remember
Ty
a lot of
Simpson.
consistent pressure the last month or so.
Yes. They were leading the nation in sacks at one point with 26, but certainly not up there anymore. So just go out there and make him turn it over. And you shouldn't have to do much because, again, 13 interceptions, league leading interception thrower. Mixing things up, hit him, in the confines of the football game. Just allow him to do what he's doing, and that's give you the football. You are an opportunistic defense, one of the nation leaders in takeaways, second in the nation in defensive touchdowns. Go do what you do best and take advantage of what DJ Lagway does worst, and that's turning over the football. Just kind of go and play your game, and I think you're going to have ample opportunities to give the football back to the offense, and they're going to have chances to go and kind of put this game away. So I like this game for Tennessee. It's crazy. I say it with no confidence because, again, where you're at. But, there's going to be some of the mods, if you will, that are going to pick Florida as we should because, again, just kind of what this series is. But, Grant, I just can't get past 3-7. I think they're a talented football team. I think they're much better than 3-7. But it's a 3-7 football team, and they just cannot finish any game. So I'm got Tennessee winning, I don't know, right now probably 35-24. Give me the Vols 35-24 in the Swamp.
Let's see. I think what's different maybe for this one, in the past when Tennessee has made bad Florida teams look really good, it's been the second or third week in September when you really didn't know what that Florida team was going to be for the rest of the season. Maybe it feels a little bit different now that Florida is a 3-win football team and they've lost 3 out of 4 or 4 out of 5 or whatever the number is. Strangely enough, the one win they had in that stretch, Mississippi State, they fired Billy Napier the next day.
Because it was the off week coming up. Yeah.
Right. But still, it's just funny to look at and think about that. But anyway, I'm going to pick Tennessee to win this game. I think 34-20. I have very little confidence in that pick just because I've watched all these games the last 22 years, just like Tennessee fans have. And when I picked Tennessee to win when I was on with the Florida guys, and they were very surprised that I didn't have much confidence in my pick because I guess they've watched this Florida team all year and they just expect it not to play very well.
Yeah, they're in the mud. I get it.
For the sanity of the general's quarters and for the sanity of the mods that work on the general's quarters, I'm going to pick a Tennessee win, and Tennessee stays alive to try to get to 10 wins before this thing's all said and done.
1 week against Alabama, nobody picked Tennessee to win. We got hated on. The next week against Oklahoma,
we all picked
Tennessee, got hated on. So maybe if there's one or two that pick Florida, that might be the perfect combination.
I think we're just going to get hated on no matter what. How about that?
I think that's it.
That might be it.
I should be hated on for my nasty, scratchy-ass voice this week. So,
I think it's been nice. Little the Marlboro man, Eric Cain.
Joe
Campbell,
came to my
Eric
rescue
Cain.
a few times. You knew I was struggling. You butted in, so I appreciate that.
Spivey King Spivey. If you've got any felonies in the Upper East Tennessee area, give them a call. 423-245-4185. There we go.
There you go. Spivey King and Spivey, great people, big Tennessee fans, just like everybody watching and listening to this show. So if you have a need, give them a call. Again, that's Spivey King and Spivey, LLP. If you got a problem, let them find a solution for you. That is TN Trial Lawyers.
They could call me for legal advice too. Like, just stop committing felonies.
That's the end of your legal advice, right? That's all you got?
But if you listen to that advice, you owe me money. So
put them on retainer.
Right.
For Grant Ramey, I am Eric Cain. Big thanks to VFL quarterback Jared Guarantano. And, we'll see what happens. Tennessee of Florida will be on the GQ all day long. We'll have a preview up to it. We'll have coverage during the game and coverage after the game. All that and more right here at Volquest.com.